COVID-19. So at the voting stations, the first thing we had to do was to procure PPEs for all our electoral staff members. And so the IEC officials at all voting stations will be kitted with the appropriate PPEs. Also, voters are requested to ensure that as they come to our voting stations and they bring their masks, they must wear their masks at all times. And as they enter the premises of the voting stations, their hands will be sanitized. And as they exit as well, their hands will be sanitized. Over and above that, they are expected to adhere to the social distancing requirements at the voting station. And the last point I wish to make is that traditionally, when we administer elections, we use an indelible ink pen to mark voters' thumbs. We had to adjust that process a bit. We are using an ink dispenser akin to an earbud that will be used per voter and it will be discarded. So those are some of the measures that we have introduced as the Electoral Commission in compliance with the COVID-19 requirements.
Right. Now, just as far as voters are concerned, what do they need to bring along, Thabo?
They need to bring their ID documents. As I've said, they are expected to also wear their masks at all times. And we encourage voters to bring their own pens. The Electoral Commissions will provide pens and will sanitize those pens once they are used by a voter. But we encourage voters to bring their own pens at the voting stations.
Right. Now, just as far as logistics are concerned, and in terms of managing these logistics, we know that, we're talking of 55 municipalities and 95 that we are talking about, which is basically the number as far as wards are concerned. So this is right across the board. But just as far as logistics are concerned, how have that gone as far as putting all of that into place in relation to COVID-19?
Our preparations are at an advanced stage. At the moment, all our logistics are in place. All the required materials have been dispatched, and most of the election material to be used at all these voting stations that I've mentioned earlier have already reached those voting stations. We have also put security measures in place, working with SAPS, with Metro Police, with various traffic departments across all these 55 municipalities to support the electoral process today and tomorrow.
Thabo, how many voters are we looking at possibly in all these districts? What sort of numbers are we looking at?
The number of registered voters, I'll give you a breakdown. In the Eastern Cape, we're talking 81,557 voters. Free State, we're talking 25,592. In Gauteng, we're talking 169,215 voters. In KZN, KwaZulu-Natal, you're talking 112,000 voters. In Limpopo, you're talking 23,820 voters. And in the province of Mpumalanga, you're talking 31,198. In the Northwest, you're talking 26,471 registered voters. And the last two provinces, the Northern Cape, is 58,000 voters. And the Western Cape, you're talking 79 registered voters. So that is the breakdown that I can give you per province.
Yes. Now, I think what is also interesting to see how these by-elections go, Thabo, because this obviously will give us an indication in terms of looking at elections going into the future. And we know that they're going to be a lot more bigger, and especially when we're looking at, elections on a national level. But it obviously gives us a good indication in terms of a test case for future elections and how well these elections go, because we're not too sure what this pandemic is going to be doing going into the future.
Indeed, political parties will be using these by-elections to test their strength and the support that they might enjoy. And they are also testing their readiness for 2021 local government elections. On our part as the Electoral Commission, we'll continue to track the trajectory of this pandemic into the new year so that we can prepare adequately. As you know, the term of office of the current council will expire on the 3rd of August 2021. You'll recall that the last local government elections were held in 2016 on the 3rd of August. So the Electoral Commission has a window period of 90 days to hold elections. That is between the 4th of August 2021 and the 1st of November 2021. And consultation with vast stakeholders have ensued, including consultation with the Minister responsible for cooperative governance and traditional affairs, Dr. Zuma, with respect to the preparations for next year's elections.
What I found also interesting is on this statement that has been issued by the IEC is talking about contestants and obviously the political parties, but looking at the candidates and the breakdown of the candidates in terms of age. Now, this is very, very interesting. I find that, there's close on to about 400 and somewhat candidates, 444 I see on the statement. But there's quite a bit, in fact, under the age of 50. A large percentage, in fact, is under the age of 50. And this is quite an interesting dynamic and a very interesting statistic, I must say, Thabo, that the IEC has put out.
This augurs well for our democracy. We encourage political parties to involve young people and also consider the gender issue. So I think political parties and independent candidates can build from this reflection that you have from this observation that you have just made.
Right. And just finally, Thabo, just looking at obviously elections will be taking place tomorrow. In terms of the outcome results, all in place to try and get the results out as soon as possible?
That's correct, sir. You'll recall that immediately after the voting process has been concluded, it will be followed by the counting process. And counting takes place at where voting happened, at the voting station. So we will not be able to determine by when a particular voting station will conclude counting, but we should be able to issue the results on Thursday, the 12th of November.
Well, Thabo, thank you very much for that and for coming on, talking with us and providing us with the update. We wish you well, we wish the IEC well, and let's hope and pray that everything goes off smoothly and more importantly, especially with the conditions that we are in, everybody is going to be safe and sound when they go and cast their vote. So all the best to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thabo Masemula, Provincial Electoral Officer of the IEC, with us this morning, considering 95 wards across 55 municipalities right across the entire country. So it's quite a big day tomorrow, Ian, across the country, especially in the wards where these elections are taking place.
This is a paid-for advert by Al Jamar.